Many of our Francophone African economies are actually really small. So if you look at, if as an entrepreneur, I decide to set my sights on Mali, Senegal, and Cote d'Ivoire, for example, I will only reach about 16% of the addressable Nigerian market. So that gives you an idea of the discrepancy. So if I'm an investor, if I'm a PE investor, I'm going to be much more interested in the startup that's in Nigeria than the one that's in Bamako, Abidjan, or Dakar.
So effectively, Nigeria is this massive black hole that just sucks in capital and talent, and it sort of starves the rest of the region in one sense.
A little bit. And so basically that's why we decided to create Suguba, my business partner and I. Suguba is a regional platform that aims to develop strong entrepreneurial ecosystems in the region and also aims to foster regional trade and regional integration. And the idea behind this is that really if we can create and lead to the emergence of strong regional champions, we will be able to get to a market size, to numbers that actually make it attractive for the traditional PE investors that typically flock to Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, etc.
Where does the money mostly come from for investing essentially PE, VC funds into Francophone Africa? Because the numbers you're mentioning, you would suggest it's a very small set of characters actually pumping cash into the same little pot.
Right now, so we have some startups that are able to attract PE and VC funding, but typically what you see a lot is the majority tends to be friends and family. We have microfinance that actually plays a role. Banks are still very risk averse, and this is not an area they like to touch as much. So that's what you see. You see a lot of just startups that are able to finance themselves through their own revenues and performance.
And even the VC and PE firms that do come here will be what? Mostly the French-oriented, or will they come in from other parts of the world as well?
So we have a good number of French-oriented ones that are quite strong here. We're starting to see some that are coming from other parts of the world too. But one of the issues that happens is that if your ticket size, if your minimum ticket size is above the capacity that the majority of startups can actually absorb, then you end up being stuck with that issue of the missing middle. And this is really one of the problems that Suguba is trying to address. So by trying to elevate the performance and the potential of the startups that we're working with, we're trying to get them closer to some of the minimum ticket sizes.
Because the VC guys would come in here with say 100,000 plus, the PE guys would probably come at 5 million and so on and so forth. So anyone in between in that gap is lost.
Exactly. And there's not a whole lot of VC at all. There's not a whole lot of VC, very, very few. I mean, Partex is one of the first ones that is now looking at Francophone Africa specifically, but VCs is still very, very weak in this region.
Give me a sense of the split of the businesses. Where exactly are these young people trying to actually create jobs and enterprises as a whole? Is it mostly consumer-facing industries? Is it mostly tech? Is it things like agribusiness and agribusiness, perhaps even education as well?
So we've seen, now there's a lot of hype around like, tech, all those types of tech ventures and applications and technology that actually allows to perform and to provide specific types of services. So that's quite big, and you can see that even in some of the other industries that are quite prevalent, such as agribusiness, so agtech is quite big. EdTech is starting to emerge a little bit. People are more and more focused on how can we actually fix some of the failings of the education systems that we have in the region. Services, so any type of like intermediation businesses that allows people to connect either, so if you're a grower, connect to buyers, if you're just a regular person in an urban city, how you can connect to people who can actually work in your house, or, so those are also quite big.